Welcome ladies and gentlemen, my name's Dychronic, you're here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be taking a look at my top 10 PV supers in Destiny 2 Season of the Deep. And this season we got a lot of buffs and changes to supers, anywhere from 10 to 35% more damage. Some of them got bonuses to add Weaken, Volatile, Jolted, and Scorched, and a lot of them are doing a lot better. That being said, I still expect the meta, the top 10, to be mostly the same. But if there are certain supers that you like that are not part of the top 10, they're doing a lot better. Something like Spectral Blades, doing 35% more damage and weakening with its heavy attack is a lot better, but still in my opinion paling in comparison to that of Tether, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. And of course I have made a spreadsheet for this video with all the dark theme, color-coded recommendations, the DPS calculations of all these supers with certain exotics, as well as on the right side a demonstration of whether certain exotic and certain super is worth using in a certain DPS phase in solo play, short or long phase. And these spreadsheets again would not be possible without my support of patrons on Patreon. So if you like these spreadsheets, you want to see them continue, please consider checking them out. Link in the description down below. And for watching that section, some cute animals on screen right now. Okay, only one of them. I'm not gonna make you complacent, okay? Only one. Okay, maybe two. All right, here we go. You get two. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. On screen right now, this is my spreadsheet. Dark theme, color-coded, all the stuff that you could possibly want, as well as the top 10 we'll talk about in this video. Keep in mind that this top 10 is based on a combination of DPS, full super damage, their utility, their support, where they fit in the meta of where we need them, and of course, the exotics necessary for them. Real quick before the top 10, just wanted to give an honorable mention to the Chaos Reach, although I don't think that it's top 10 worthy. I also think that the buff to it is pretty significant. First of all, DPS is decent, full super damage is decent, and they made it so it's more resistant while using it, so you don't die nearly as easily. But it definitely needs some tweaks, obviously, to it or to arc subclasses for Warlocks to make it top 10. Following that at number 10, we have the Nova Bomb, both the Cataclysm and Vortex, which is one of the best burst DPS options for the Warlock, as well as being built into Void, which is one of the best subclasses for Warlock. And let me tell you, I use a lot of Controverse Hold when I play my Warlock. Obviously, there are no exotics that make Nova Bomb better, other than to get, obviously, super back, like Dharamkara. I personally believe they can come out with a Falling Star equivalent for Nova Bombs, make them do double the damage, and they'll be on par with that of Falling Star. Keep in mind that Falling Star is much more dangerous to use, but it still could happen, and honestly, it still wouldn't be the best in the game. Nova Bomb needs some attention. That being said, very quick, very easy, lots of great effects on it, and I highly recommend it. And for the love of God, please use Vortex over Cataclysm, because Vortex does not block your teammates' shots, getting them killed while they're firing Galahorn. Please use the Vortex. Following that at number 9, we have the Arc Staff with Lethal Current with either Starter Scales or Raid and Flux. Starter Scales obviously increase the damage of super by 70% when you get 4 orbs after getting your super, and Raid and Flux makes it last a whole lot longer, going from 12 swings to 25 swings. And in my opinion, one of the most underrated supers in the game. And this particular super not only has pretty good DPS compared to weapons and a lot of other super, has the best full super damage in the game by far. If you look at this chart, you can see that Arc Staff with Lethal Current, either again with Raid and Flux or with the Starter Scales, the best full ammo damage with supers in the game, bar none. So if you're doing a long damage phase, like with Rolk, and you're playing with a team, Arc Staff ends up being a decent option. Because let's face it, you do run out of heavy ammo fairly quickly with rockets. Arc Staff can supplement that damage fairly easily. And frankly, it's really good for ad clear. Again, lasting a very long time with Raid and Flux, doing a ridiculous amount of damage to both ads, majors, and bosses. The only problem is that Arc on Hunter is probably one of the weakest subclasses. With that in mind, at number 8, we have the Glacial Quake, which is the Stasis Titan super, which obviously has less DPS and less full ammo damage than the aforementioned Arc Staff with Raid and Flux or Starter Scales, but it also has a lot more utility, on top of being in a better subclass. Stasis Titan, in my opinion, better than Arc Hunter. And those particular utilities is, first of all, hits a much wider area of effect with all those freezing crystals, freezes, slows, and shatters enemies, which affects champions and locks everybody down, and frankly, it's just so much fun. Freezing everything with a bunch of crystals, sliding through it, watch a ton of numbers explode everywhere, and it's just so much fun. And frankly, that's one of the main reasons I play Titan most of the time, is just because I have so much fun with things like this. And if you haven't tried Glacial Quake on the Titan, it's so much fun. And there's also special interactions with these crystals. If you're hitting a very large-bodied individual like Riven, we actually use this on Riven, it does more damage than that of Falling Star. Because if you're hitting every bit of that crystal at its maximum damage point, you're going to be doing ridiculous damage. The only limiting characteristic is that you're not able to hit all of the crystals effectively. Following that at number 7, we have the Needlestorm, which is the strand super for the Warlock. Obviously, the whiteout fragment, increasing the damage of threadlings, does slightly increase the damage of the super. Yet again, another super that's very much just use a super, dump a ton of damage into the enemy, and it's probably the best option for Warlocks to deal damage outside of supporting with a well. And personally, I end up gravitating towards these single-use supers because you dump a bunch of damage and you get to use your weapons, which obviously I have Galahorn and lots of great weapons like Witherhoard. So TLDR, if you want to do a ton of damage and you already have a well on your team, Needlestorm is an amazing option. Unless you're going to do the Sunbracer thing with tons of damage from the grenade if you have a big body boss. Following that at number 6, the best Titan option in the game, we have Thunder Crash with Falling Star, specifically for the best Titan super option. And Falling Star, if you don't know, literally doubles the damage of Thunder Crash, which, funnily enough, if you remove this Blade Fury here, which is the strand super for Titan, second place is going to be Thunder Crash without Falling Star, which again goes to show just how much Titans and Warlocks are not meant for direct DPS. That is the Hunter's job. But with that, Falling Star doing 530,000 damage is nothing to snuff at. It's a pretty considerable amount of damage. Gives you an overshield as you're trying to retreat, makes it a lot safer to headbutt your enemy with it, and it's built-in arc, which is probably one of the best options for Titans and the season with like 4 different things that massively buff arc is really good. Although obviously a swappable exotic. So use Heart of Inmost Light most of the time. You're about to super, swap to Falling Star, and it's a chest for chest thing, making it easy, and you can do a lot more damage. Following that at number 5, we have the Arc Hunter super known as Gathering Storm, which is a super that probably not a lot of people use, which again, because of the aforementioned fact that Arc Hunter is not that strong, Gathering Storm is the strongest super in the game when it comes to DPS. And obviously this DPS is measured as just the time it takes to use the super, but obviously it lasts for a much longer time and even sticks to a boss and that he can take and run around with. So great full super damage, insane amounts of DPS, which again, you can switch to your other weapons, use them while it's doing its damage. The only other downside outside of being an Arc Hunter super is that sometimes it's hard to aim. For some reason, it doesn't always go straight where you want it to go. Which the running joke with Gathering Storm is that there's a myth going on that Gathering Storm will actually go to where you're aiming it. And frankly, with a number of times that Bladebrush seems to miss the target, Gathering Storm, especially if there's like an Arc Surge mod on the current Nightfall, may end up being a better option. Following that at number 4, another Hunter super, we have the Silk Strike, which is the strand super for the Hunter, with and without starter scales, obviously doing incredible amounts of damage. But what really sets this apart is that this is a roaming super with really high full super damage at nearly 1.9 million full super damage, which, keep in mind, the best Arc Staff could do is 2.5 million. It also has 209,000 DPS. That particular Arc Staff is less than half of that DPS, and it's a roaming super. So, TLDR, one of the best, if not the best roaming super in the game. Incredible DPS, incredible full super damage, built into Strand, which is decent for the Hunter. And honestly, it's a lot of fun too. It's literally, here's the I win the game button. And there was also a glitch earlier on that made it do double the damage just by accident. So, that's fun. Following that at number 3, we have Bladebrush, which, if you're going to use it, use the knock 'em down aspect, as well as starter scales, which makes it do some of the best DPS and full super damage for a single-use super. And honestly, if you're going to be doing damage in a raid, if you already have a weaken effect, Bladebrush is the best option. And furthermore, it's built into Solar, which in my opinion is one of the best subclasses for Hunters. I personally love using Ahamkar's Spine for the trip mine spamming, tons of ability energy, and again, Hunters are not known for their neutral game. They are known for their incredible supers in PvE. Having a good grenade-based build in the form of Ahamkar's Spine for Solar and having one of the best DPS options for the super is very strong. And I know I'm gonna get some comments going, excuse me, streamer, there's this build with Shinobu's Vow that's pretty good. Nah, come on, let's be honest with each other. Compared to the Titan and Warlock grenade builds with Sunbracers, Conqueror's Hold, Heart of Inmost Light, Hunters don't have great grenade and melee builds, and this is a great instance of one that does decently well. However, in my opinion, not the best super for the Hunter, and obviously not the best subclass either. That definitely goes to number 2, the Mobius Tether with either Starter Scales or Orpheus Rig, which I have said many times. Void Hunter is ridiculously strong. First of all, has 4 ways to go invisible, which is one of the best survivability options in the game. Telling enemies to just never hit you, that's amazing. Also being able to have all those other effects, like the volatile thing with Gear Falcons, or having the disorient from your smoke bombs. And then of course there's the super, which obviously weakens at the highest regard at 30%, which is really useful for raid DPS or just killing an enemy. On top of obviously doing ridiculous amounts of DPS and a decent amount of full super damage. And although technically DPS is better on starter scales, Tether Mobius with Orpheus Rig is actually a really good option as well. Orpheus Rig increases the number of shots to 3, which if you don't know, the first shot will hit the target normally, the second shot will do extra damage from the target being weakened, and that third shot will also deal extra damage from the target being weakened. So Orpheus Rig, if you don't like picking up orbs, the full super damage is pretty much the same, and I would recommend that most of the time. So an amazing super which supports your team with not only orbs, but extra weaken effect, in an amazing subclass, which again, I think is the best hunter option in the game. But unfortunately, the hunters don't have the best super in the game. That title goes to the Well of Radiance for the Warlocks, which is a curse and a gift at the same time. Basically, putting down a Well of Radiance makes you and any of your teammates essentially unkillable in most combat, as well as giving a 25% damage bonus, which is what most people want for raids, nightfalls, etc. And it's built into Solar, which is one of the best options for Warlocks. And although unfortunately they don't have Starfire Protocol anymore, they do have Sunbracers, which everybody loves, and Verity's Brow, which is a great option to couple with the best super in the game, a really good option in Solar 3.0. Double exploding fusion grenades, still freaking amazing, or these solar grenades, and great exotics that still are pretty good. And frankly, even in solo play, Well of Radiance, not only for the survivability, ends up being a better damage option if you use your weapons in the Well of Radiance. And of course, again, these videos would really not be possible without my patrons on Patreon. Specifically, big thank you to Mom Dad, Kip Shaw, Waffar, Prez, Joe Baden, Robert Strayer, James Osler, Ethan Hodgins, Monty Armstrong, Monday, Stu Bachman, Juno Panther, Casey Reagan, Willard Peterson, and Benjamin for their support on Patreon. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoy. My name's Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next.